It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. It is a Super Bowl special edition. We are talking all things Super Bowl. So joining us from out of Miami right now, we have the founder of The Football Girl, Melissa Jacobs. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Renee.
Thank you for joining us. I'm hoping you're sending some warm weather up my way to Jersey, but I would love to hear what is going on so far. I know it's earlier in the week, but what's going on so far in Miami? Take us through, for those of us that are not fortunate to be there, what you've seen since you've touched down.
Well, so far I've seen the airport, which was lovely, an Uber, and my hotel. But I'm going to be getting my credentials, so I'll start tomorrow. A lot of media members came on Sunday so they could go. Monday night was the big opening night that the NFL puts on, which used to just be like a small thing where like 10 or 15 people asked silly questions. Now it's this crazy televised event, and people are asking 49ers players to spell Jimmy Garoppolo's name, and little kid reporters are telling Patrick Mahomes they want to be like him, which is really sweet. And then the week is just, it starts getting crazier. Probably, toward the weekend, it's just kind of pandemonium as more, obviously, fans come in for the game, but also, all the athletes and all of their people that aren't playing in the Super Bowl that are here to, either do marketing deals or frankly, just to party.
Yeah, and that's something I know everyone's always looking forward to, the big game, but when you're working the game, when you're down there, you fly in Tuesday, it's not just a one-day thing. This is a week-long thing, a week-long event for you, getting interviews, getting those behind-the-scenes stories, and a lot of people don't really realize all that goes into it, aside from the game itself. So that is
it's a very interesting combination of really stressful and exhausting, but also really fun and exhilarating. Like, for example, I'm going to an event tonight that will be probably pretty late, and then the Kansas City Chiefs have availability at 8 in the morning. So, that, which is good for, they it's their show. Like, they get to make those determinations, whatever works for them. Like, who cares about, little media members like me? But then, if you're there and you're trying to produce stories, you need to be coherent, and then you need to make sure that you carve out time in your day to actually write or edit or whatever it is that you do. And it's really hard because there's so many events going on literally every second.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I have yet to go to a Super Bowl. I was hoping this year would be the year, and I'm hoping maybe next year. How many have you been to and covered?
Next. You know what? This is actually my 10th. I was counting it on the airplane.
Okay. Happy 10
I know.
years.
Yeah. And you'll get here. You'll get here. It's maybe hopefully next year.
Yes. So, for you, take us through kind of your thoughts. I know it's very early in the week still, and you haven't had a chance to have those interviews yet. Unfortunately, by the time this show airs, it's a little too early in the week for us to really dive into deeply those conversations. But just from the surface, from what you've been following so far, starting with the 49ers, your thoughts on them coming into Sunday.
Yeah, well, they're very the 49ers I've actually covered pretty intricately. I got covered the NFC Championship game, and I'm based in the Bay Area, so I don't cover them every day, but I'm out there a lot. That is a relaxed, fun, just culture group of guys, and they're chill, they are focused. I think they really enjoy the fact that they're a slight underdog. I think it's maybe 1 point, but still, they weren't in the playoffs, so this is a little bit new, and it's going to be a very interesting challenge. How do you take down Patrick Mahomes, essentially, who is just playing out of his mind right now?
Yeah, and that's something, I mean, what you touched on at the beginning, the fun, laid back feel that the team has, that's something that I've noticed as well. And I'm only seeing it from the outside looking in, that, you know, the stories you hear in the locker room, the way that they kind of carry themselves, it seems like they are really cohesive, having fun, enjoying every moment, and really not feeling the pressure of being at this point of the season. And even leading up to the Super Bowl, it felt like the 49ers kind of, from head coach Kyle Shanahan all the way down, just came in each game like, you know, it's another opportunity to play. We're going to make the most of it, and not feeling that pressure of we have to win every single game. And they've been obviously very successful and had a season. But is that what you're seeing behind the scenes when you talk about that laid back personality, that fun feel and environment that you're sensing and seeing from the inside looking in?
Yeah, so a lot of it really stems from Kyle Shanahan. The players love him. You know, they had a little successful run a few years ago with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, and the team makeup was actually quite similar with a dominant defense like they have now, but they didn't relate to Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was like, I'm the boss, I'm a rah-rah guy. Kyle Shanahan, he listens to the same music that the players do. He dresses like them, and he's just a brilliant football mind. That's the thing, and the players just respect him to the moon, essentially. So he's just created this really happy, coalesced culture.
And that's exactly it. I mean, I was even reading and seeing, I mean, I saw it at first and I saw it again in articles, how they don't even call him coach. It's just Kyle. Like he's just, it's like a very, like they still have the respect that he's their head coach. But being that, as you mentioned, he's only 40 years old. He is right. He's thinks the same as they do and is still in the same age range as them. So it's not like there's this dictatorship-ish feel. It's like we're all a family. We're all in this together. There's no big egos from the coaching staff to the players to the top players. Doesn't matter who you are on the team. It seems like they're all very gelling. And we see that even with their rookies that came right in. You know, you look at the guys that are playing big minutes for them and big moments for them that aren't even looking at this time of the season. Of course, it's Super Bowl, so by this point, you're not really a rookie anymore. But from the beginning, we saw them step right in and have success. I mean, specifically looking at players like Deebo Samuel and Dre Greenlaw and Emmanuel Mosley. I mean, talk to me about the importance and the significance of that youth that's come in and been able to hit the ground running, coming into this family that the 49ers have built under Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, well, on defense, drafting Nick Bosa #2 was huge. I mean, he's been everything they could dream of and more. And and guys just come in and the system works for them. And I think a really big factor for that defense has been having a guy like Richard Sherman there, because he is a leader. He talks a lot. Mm-hmm. People think he talks too much, but he is a leader through and through. And so he's helped guys, I think, grow up a little bit faster than maybe even they should. But it's obviously resulted in just a really strong defense.
Yeah. So I have to ask, because I was having this conversation about the Titans, before they got knocked out in the championship game. What are we missing about the 49ers? What is it that maybe people are underestimating, in your opinion, that's really going to help them if they come out on top in this game and are able to win and beat the Chiefs and win the Super Bowl? What's something that maybe we're missing, that we're taking for granted or just kind of overlooking, that you've seen that is something that's going to carry them? Maybe it's a person.
Well, the hot thing to talk about this week is Jimmy Garoppolo, because he threw for 77 yards in the NFC Championship, and people are kind of panning him in general. He doesn't have a long log of games, so you can find things in his game, I guess, to pick apart. But he's also stepped up in really big moments, and the team has so much faith in him. As dominant as the running game has been, and as much of a story as it's been, I still think it's sort of an under talked about situation, that in the sense that they can control the hell out of the clock. And that's the key to this game. Keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. So if their running game is like, it doesn't even have to be as effective as it was in the NFC Championship. If it's close to that, then that, and it can be Kyle. I mean, this is Kyle Shanahan, like, you know, showing off basically with his playbook. That could be like the big kind of game changer.
That's a great point. And a lot of people have questioned Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo because, you know, as you touch on, it's just when you get to this stage, you don't really know what to expect, but they have that calm, cool, collected, both of them, even being someone that's maybe hasn't had as many years at this point, at this stage, as we look on the other side with someone like Big Red and Andy Reid of the Chiefs. But they have the demeanor, they have the maturity, they know how to control the game, which is a big factor when you talk about being able to play such a strong offense like the Chiefs, to be able to keep their offense off the field and be able to, you know, manage and weather whatever is thrown their way. So then on the other side with Kansas City, a lot of storylines here. I know as an Eagles fan personally, taking my broadcaster hat off and putting my fan hat on, you know, it's exciting to see Andy Reid get to the Super Bowl and have a chance to finally win one. And then as well as seeing players like Patrick Mahomes, who have been just tremendous for them and have really been exciting to watch through their ups and downs of their season, injuries and whatever adversity was thrown their way. I mean, for the Chiefs, it's been 50 years in the making. You know, they're back in the Super Bowl. Taken a while, but they made it back.
Right.
I know we talk a lot about Patrick Mahomes, but break down your thoughts on the Chiefs and what it's going to take for them to win this game.
Yeah, well, I do definitely think Mahomes we've seen, and just the prolific offense, having the weapons that he has, and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and among others. That roster goes pretty deep. We've seen them already this postseason. They can put up points in it. Like, you blink your eye and suddenly they've just scored 3 times, you know? So, you know, the Niners, I don't think are the type of defense that would allow that as much as maybe the Texans did. However, you know, I think the one thing that isn't talked about from the Chiefs' perspective is just how improved their defense is. Especially their secondary. I think since week 10, they've allowed something like 13 points a game. So if you're allowing 13 points a game and then you have that offense that is obviously mostly scoring way more than 13 points a game, just kind of do the math there. Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, has been a huge asset. And then they brought in, you know, Tyrann Mathieu has just been playing pretty lights out. And that's been a huge factor. But of course, it is the Patrick Mahomes show.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't completely talk about all that it's gonna take for them to win without mentioning Patrick Mahomes. Yes. But I think even beyond that, as you touch on some of the other players that have been a big part, looking at their defense, that has been something that's always been a question mark for the Chiefs. You know, and it's been something that has been their Achilles heel in the past. And we saw this season a much better defense, a much better secondary, which is a big part, as you mentioned, when you're able to hold opponents to such a low amount of points, you're gonna be a lot more successful. And to see the way they bounced back when Patrick Mahomes was injured, when, you know, whatever was thrown their way, they've been counted out a couple times this season, and here they are in the Super Bowl. So I need to ask your predictions. I'm curious to hear your over-under predictions. Who do you think is going to win?
I have to say it's really hard because I don't actually see one side having a huge advantage over the other in the Super Bowl, like in any unit, you know, any specific run game versus, you know, pass defense, whatever it is. So I don't feel like even remotely confident in this, but I'm going to say the 49ers because I do think they'll be able to control the ball with that run game, as I mentioned earlier. And I'll say, I don't know, really close. I think it's going to be a really exciting game, 3 points.
I do agree, and that's something that I was, you know, as people always ask, like, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? I'm like, this is the first year I really have no idea. And it's exciting, though. It's a good problem to have. I mean, you could see either team being able to win this game. It's not like in the past where, let's say, the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, and it's like, oh, the Patriots are most likely going to win unless something like what we saw when the Eagles won, something spectacular happens. Otherwise, it's going to be the Patriots. This is a year where it's really anybody's game. And I'm with you on that. I'm sticking with the Chiefs because I'm as an Eagles fan, I'm voting for Andy Reid, but I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But we have seen a lot of leading up to this point in the divisional rounds and leading up to this point, each team starting off, or games where a team would start off up by 16, up by 20, and someone make a comeback. Do you see this game being a game that's close all the way through? Again, we're just throwing out lofty predictions here. We're not.
Yeah, I
have
do.
no idea,
I
really.
do. I mean, I think, sure, somebody could have like a 2-score lead, but I don't think this is going to be someone gets out to 24-0. I just don't see that. I just think the coaching is too strong on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. And then for you, what are you most looking forward to this Super Bowl? It's another year. You're covering the game again. Aside from just covering the game itself, what's something for those that are listening that are, again, not there in Miami and not being a part of the events? You talk about all that goes on around the game. Take us through maybe something that you're really looking forward to the most this year.
During the week, I mean, I'm excited to not see the Patriots. I'm excited to see
I like that.
just how the Chiefs, it's not even being a Patriots hater. I mean, they've been here the last 3 years, and honestly, it gets kind of boring as a media member. So just seeing how the Chiefs I just think both of these teams are very likable, and I just want to see how much fun they have during the week. I think that's going to be really exciting.
I love that. Yeah, I completely agree. These are two teams that are, and not that anybody ever takes it for granted when you make it to a Super Bowl, a championship, in your league and your sport, but it's two teams that have been looking at their history and looking at the players, the coaches, they're all, I'm sure, through the moon to be there. And every interview, every experience that they have, it's going to be more exciting for media members to capture. So I totally agree with you.
Right.
I'm not sensing any heater either. So where can our listeners follow you to keep up with all of your football coverage that you're doing, especially this week as you continue to cover the Super Bowl?
Yeah, pretty much The Football Girl. You can go to thefootballgirl.com. You can go to follow me on Twitter at The Football Girl. It's TFG_NFL on Instagram, and we'll be posting a lot of stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. I appreciate you taking time out of your hectic schedule to weigh in on the game and even behind the scenes what you're seeing being a media member covering it. So I appreciate you.